What I didn't realize was it flushed out the good things in my body too. I had $300 worth of product in stock, and I said, if I'm not going to take it, I'm certainly not going to sell it. So I threw it out because I couldn't get my money back. I ended up becoming actually malnourished, and it affected me not just physically, but mentally. It explained why I was feeling the way I was feeling.
Real talk, raw feelings. Welcome to a Grades podcast series. If I'm being honest, I'm your host, Nishani and I'm the founder of Grade.
And I'm Himgori Gigi to my friends, creative mind behind tessellations, and I'm building brands that mean something.
So for our episode today, we have a featured guest, an honored guest that I'd like to introduce you all to. Her name is Mary Beth Potrykus with Mama Bear Productions. And Mary Beth is a wellness educator, and she partners with a company called Shaklee. I'm not sure if I mention it being a company, but I'll let Mary Beth explain further what Shaklee represents. When I first met Mary Beth, we had I think we met during a networking event. That's right. Sarasnet had a networking afterglow event where I had seen her earlier virtually, and then we met in person, and we somehow found our way towards each other. And Mary Beth had mentioned to me that she is a hunter, or she goes hunting. And I'm not sure how we got into that conversation, because I was thinking about that, in order to introduce you today. I'm like, it's one of the first things I learned about you before I learned about Mama Bear Productions. Oh, that is what it was. It was me asking, where did Mama Bear come from? And then somewhere in that conversation, you had mentioned that you go hunting and that you had hunted a bear. And I was so incredibly inspired because it's something I have been wanting to try. I obviously have not yet really delved into the world of hunting, but living in Michigan, it seems to be a conversation so many people have, so many people engage in it. There's seasons for it, and they have dedicated spaces where they go hunting, like little huts that they build. Like, I've learned so much, but I haven't fully immersed myself in that lifestyle. And so as soon as Mary Beth mentioned it, I got so excited and I started bombarding her with all these questions like, well, how did you get into it? What kind of hunter are you? And in my head, I picture Hunger Games, like bow and arrow, Katniss Everdeen in the woods. And I believe Mary Beth had to tell me, like, it's actually not that exciting. It's a lot of waiting, and sometimes waiting in the cold. So I remember that encounter and learning more about Shaklee, just because I have been on a holistic journey for many years now, just kind of wanting to transition to holistic products or learning more about what's in the products that we use, whether that's a supplement, laundry, and all of that. And so having met her, it made me realize that there may be other ways, because usually my information comes from the internet. And I really appreciated learning about Shaklee through Mary Beth and Mama Bear Productions, because it is a person local to me. I can actually ask her questions. I can interact with her. And I'm almost done with my laundry detergent. This is a self DIY laundry detergent. I'm waiting to finish my current stock before I purchase something from Shaklee. And I had told Mary Beth about that because it's been many years and it's not happened overnight. So the reason why we invited her to our podcast is so that we can talk about the importance of transitioning, not to fearmonger everybody, not to make anybody believe that they need to make any change like immediately overnight. Don't get rid of everything in your household. That's not what we're wanting to do here, but we want to slowly encourage being more intentional, mindful about what is in the products that you're using and how can that help you build a better ecosystem in your household. And so without further ado, I would love for Mary Beth to just kind of walk us through her journey towards Shaklee, towards this kind of exposure to the world of holistic care and wellness, and hear more about hunting. Maybe we'll get into that, but maybe not. I'm not sure. But yes, Mary Beth, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you so much, ladies, for inviting me today. It's a pleasure. And and Nishani, wow, did you write all that stuff down? Because you have a really good memory. If not, I'm very impressed that you remembered all of that. So my journey into Shaklee was, to go back a little bit, in 1996, my son was not quite 2 and I hadn't lost all my weight from having him. So I found a company that helped me to lose weight. And I ended up doing, recommending those products to other people, but at a low level. I was working full time and had my son and, my husband and my family, and that was most important. And then, of course, after I got down to the weight I wanted to be at, we decided to have a second child, and I had to stop taking some of the products from that company while I was pregnant. And I'll just call them fat flushers. I forget even what the name was. But, so after I had my daughter, now I went back to work part time and now I have 2 children. So the budget was a little leaner. So I didn't go back on the whole program. I just went back on the fat flushers. And what I didn't realize was it flushed out the good things in my body too. So I ended up becoming actually malnourished, and it affected me not just physically, but mentally. And a good friend of mine got into Shaklee, and she said, "Do you know what's in those products that you're using?" And I'm like, "Well, they're natural, right? Because it's such a common word being used today. They're natural." But she prompted me to want to look at the ingredients more in depth. And when I did, I found out, wow, these are really harsh stimulants. And it explained why I was feeling the way I was feeling. I had a pretty good diet, but it just wasn't enough using those harsh supplements. So I had $300 worth of product in stock. And I said, if I'm not going to take it, I'm certainly not going to sell it. So I threw it out because I couldn't get my money back. And so you figure back in 1998, I don't even know how much that'd be worth to equate it to today's economy. So anyway, I started on 3 products from Shaklee, which was a protein powder, a multivitamin, and B complex. And literally within a week, I could actually feeling it starting to work. I wasn't 100% by any means. And then within 30 days, other people were noticing a difference. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, maybe they want to be around me again because I wasn't the most pleasant person to be around. I was laid off from my job because the company moved to another state, and now I'm a stay-at-home mom with my 4-year-old son and 1.5-year-old daughter, and I really liked being at home with them. So initially, I was going to go back to work, or go to school rather, and be more marketable in the workforce when they were in school all day. And I thought, you know what? I want to help other people so they don't experience what I experienced. I could help educate them to know what is good and what isn't, and to have that trust in me and a company that I trusted. So in 2004, my friend and I hired a business coach, and she's like, well, you need to pick a name. There's so many other people that do what you do. You should have a name to make you stand out, make you memorable and remarkable. And so we strategized and we figured, well, by that time I was successful in bear hunting. And so we thought of Mama Bear Productions. And then my very intelligent daughter, who was 7 at that point, she goes, Mom, it's the same initials as your name. I'm like, perfect. So people think I'm a video company.
It's
Like,
so cool.
no, I produce healthy people. That's what it's the productions. So it's just been so wonderful learning about health overall, not just the products, but how to help people make healthy habits and, incorporate the products that I have, which ranges from nutritional, good cleansing programs, weight management, personal care, skincare, and then non-toxic biodegradable cleaning and laundry products for the home. So a wide range of products to offer people from a company who's now been in the business for 70 years this year, which is pretty incredible. And that's not by chance. So, yeah.
That is so cool. Yeah, no, I was just saying, like, when you were trying to explain your journey, at one point, before you said the company's name, we knew where this was headed, because knowing your thing for like just become a mama, and then the bear comes from like you love hunting. So we, like, for a lot of people that don't have a video, but like Nishani and I had a smile, like we knew where the name was headed. And again, like as a vibe as well, I'm going to say, like, you have like a little like mama bear vibe around you as well. Like when you've been talking, I'm just like, I feel hugged, and definitely makes sense. And then again, like I didn't know the Mary Beth also kind of resonated. So yeah, like all of these things, like it's so meant to be, right? Like again, like Nishani has interacted with you a lot, and I'm getting to know you on the podcast as well. But like that certain, like it just felt as if somebody just like, I got a small hug from you. So virtually, thank you so much for this, the way you let us into your life. That was really cool.
Thank you
And,
so much.
even with
Thank
that,
you.
something I think I remember when I first spoke with you, Mary Beth, which by the way, your daughter is a genius. Even I didn't put that together until you said, MB, Mary Beth, Mama Bear. Like, what a, yeah,
Yes.
genius in the making. And I know she's older now, and
Yes.
believe, I believe she has children of her own now as well, if I'm remembering correct. Yes, yeah. And so, anyways, when you mentioned that Shaklee has been around for 70 years, and in my history, when I've spoken with medical providers, they're usually not engaging in conversations of holistic care. Like, usually they're like, oh, we're looking at your blood results, we look at your blood tests, like very basic stuff. And over the past couple of years, I have been very like nerdy looking into hormonal imbalances and endocrine disruptors and products that we're using, like makeup, hair products, especially like dry shampoo. I used to have this like spray, aerosol spray dry shampoo, and I always experience these headaches, and I never knew what was causing it. And like weight loss is another big trending topic. I mean, I think it's always been a trend, but with GLP-1 being readily available in the community,
Hmm.
just available to anybody, right? It has become returned to its like everybody's looking for ways of losing weight, finding ways of losing weight that's faster, that has nothing to do with not necessarily diet and exercise, even though I know a doctor recommends those things. But when you think about the holistic model, I wonder, do you find that in your work, like, do you interact with medical professionals? Is that something that you work with, or do you find that it's more clients, like humans, just regular humans who end up connecting with you because they are on a wellness journey just like you did, and realizing that they need to heal and nothing is working, like the medications that they're taking, maybe prescribed medications, are not working in certain ways and they need a different support?
I don't work with MDs. Like I'll work with chiropractors, massage
Mm.
therapists, people, naturopaths, people in that field. Because doctors, they don't know any other way.
Mm-hmm.
Like they've been educated in the pharmaceutical arena. And so they just don't know. And they want to safeguard themselves, which stands to reason. And they're so busy. So I just don't think that they've taken the time or don't have the time to do any research on what supplements are good and, what
Mm.
companies that sell the supplements are good and what are not good. So yeah, again, there's education also in there and I'm finding more and more doctors. Like I mentioned one to you, Nishani. Did you ever connect with Dr.
My
Thomas?
only had one conversation with her, and she was already
She is.
sharing
She is.
so much insight about holistic wellness. And she said she does genetic testing with her clients before she prescribes medications. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that makes so much sense, because how do you know what
Mm-hmm.
medications are going to work for a certain body just by looking at a human in their face? Like, you cannot tell. Nobody's a mind reader. We can't see into what the body will do. So she does specific testing. I've already recommended a couple of people to her. In fact, she's been sending me some clients
Yeah.
as well. Indirectly, we're not directly handing anybody off yet, but it's been an indirect. She's sharing my information and I'm sharing hers, because that's what I'm looking for. And usually, MDs, like you said, they're so driven in a certain direction that sometimes they can be closed off to conversations with mental health therapists, chiropractors. I know one of my past doctors used to be like, what are chiropractors even? Are they even doctors? I've had great success working with chiropractors, and I recommend chiropractic care to everybody. But I usually give them the heads up.
Mm-hmm.
These are preventative care modalities. These are
Oh, yeah.
not quick fixes. This is not an ibuprofen that you can take and then your headache disappears. You're talking about a structural change, talking about foundational changes that happen over time. And sometimes I do think people are looking for those quick fixes. They're looking for immediate relief. And they're not always interested in taking that approach, which is what got me into wanting to ask you. I think there's a history with Shaklee. And I wonder if you wouldn't mind sharing a little bit about Shaklee's history, and like, for them to have existed for 70 years, right? And as a representative, you're obviously very motivated and passionate about the company and what they stand for. But I'm curious if you are familiar with their story and how they started and why they do what they do.
Oh, yeah. It's a fantastic story. So Dr. Lee was actually born in 1894, and he and his family lived in a coal mining town in Iowa where he had tuberculosis. And basically the doctor said, well, enjoy your time because he's not going to live long. And his mother said, this is not acceptable. So they moved, they bought a farm, and now he's breathing clean air and getting good, clean food. And obviously he survived. And then at the age of 21 in 1915, he created the first multi-mineral supplement. He was a chiropractor, and who taught him was Dr. Palmer. So Dr. Palmer has a university that specifically was teaching people how to be a chiropractor, and still well known in the chiropractor community, and with people who are familiar with chiropractors. So anyhow, he got married, had a son, and then a few years later, he was actually diagnosed with cancer. Even back then, right? Even in the early 1900s, doctors are going, well, we can amputate this leg and that arm, and you may live 10 years. He's like, this is not acceptable. So he sold his chiropractic practice. He actually created one of the first little camper RVs, and he and his wife and son are going from Iowa to Florida. So all these people are like, what is that? Because we're talking now in what, the 1920s, right?
Yep.
And so, so he got to Florida, and all these people are like, well, you got to meet this person, this person, this person. So he actually met Harvey Firestone, tires, Henry Ford, and Thomas Edison. Yeah. So a little name dropper there. So anyhow, all this time he's like, well, why am I not taking the product that I created and just doing things different, watching my diet better and everything. So he healed from that, and they ended up going back to Iowa, and he opened up another practice. And he's like, well, I want to help so many more people, not just in my local area. So he went and got his pilot's license, bought a small plane, and now he's flying to people to help them, which was really cool. He also became a pastor, or a minister. He was a scientist, a naturopath. So the man was just unbelievably intelligent as well as compassionate. And in 1956, when he was 62, he founded the Shaklee Corporation. His sons believed in him so much that they, invested in his company as well. So they started with just the multivitamin, and then in 1960, he created the first all-purpose biodegradable, non-toxic cleaner, and then just started creating more products. Now, they went through a little hiccup, that they didn't think they were going to be able to keep the company around. So all of these distributors that were with Shaklee at the time said, we need to rally together and keep this company going. We have to keep Dr. Shaklee's vision and mission going strong. And they did, So unfortunately, he passed away in he was 91, and 1985 rather, at the age of 91. So I never got to meet him, but just an incredible human being. And his sons didn't want to run the company when he passed away. They sold it to a company in Japan, and eventually they were willing to sell it to Roger Barnett, who bought it in 2004 and has just done wonderful things with the company, both with products and technology. So it's really in the multi-level marketing, health and wellness arena, they're leading by example, right? They're setting the pace, if you will, for other companies. So, yeah.
I've been listening to you, and that's the line has stuck to me, where you ended up saying you produce healthy people. And that is so kind of true, that looking at something in a holistic way, like everybody currently is very obsessed with like short-term gains, and they don't believe in something that is long-term. Personally, like for me, I deal with scalp psoriasis. Annoying it is. I feel like my entire life sometimes revolves around this. It starts from a hair wash to how do I carry myself out, to wearing clothes that I do, because you do have like fallouts and everything, right? But I looked at like taking homeopathic medicines. Again, that is also a very slow and a longer process to kind of get you out of what you're dealing with, and it kind of heals everything from the base. And I have been feeling really different, and I've been feeling great about it. And again, I know about homeopathic, I know about everything, but for the two and two to connect was really long for me. And now I understand the value of looking at holistic things. Now, having said that, like I have a small question, like as somebody who doesn't know anything and as a general audience, like if somebody is looking at managing their weight, what are they looking at? Like, because I have done a diet in the past, which is really not healthy for me. As you mentioned, I used to pretty much have only like 3 shakes in a day, which was the entirety. I used to only have 800 calories in a day,
Amazing.
which was really bad. Like I dropped weight like this, but it was not sustainable for me.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in general, everybody today is dealing with weight, right? Like if they're even fit, they somehow feel that they're not. So understanding like, you know, how weight management, how does it work with Shaklee? If you would like just give us a little bit of rundown on like what it looks like and why do the products benefit the way they do and how do they support you?
Okay, great question. Well, we all have a diet, right? It can be good or not so good, right? But it's all a diet. So people are so focused on getting to their goal weight, but what's really challenging is maintaining that weight. So I educate them like these are the changes to be made, not just for 30, 60, 90 days. It's for a lifetime. So let's work together. And what changes can you make now? Maybe 1 to 2 a month, right? That we can sustain your weight. Now there's programs that they can get on to get a little bit of a jump start, but ideally the best way to lose weight is like 2 pounds in a week. So every week if you lose 2 pounds, and of course it depends on how much a person wants to lose. Like if it's just I just need to lose 10, 20 pounds or something, that's different than somebody says I need to lose 60 or 70. But you want to do it gradually because like you mentioned, Gigi, that, you know, you did these shakes a day, it was 800 calories and it wasn't sustainable. And really, you don't want to do that because that can throw your body into a shock, right? And when you lose weight quickly, you lose the fat, but you can lose the muscle too. So what I've learned is that keeping the muscle is even more important than losing weight, right? A pound of muscle and a pound of fat weigh the same, but it's how can I explain this? It's what takes space up in your body because muscle is more lean, right? Fat takes up more space. So the big thing, like you mentioned too, like GLP-1, it's like our bodies make that hormone. Our stomachs do. So when you give the body more protein, that helps produce more GLP-1, and that helps with your cravings, your energy, balancing your blood sugars, right? So this is part of the education for people to learn that just getting that injection in your stomach, which is an artificial hormone, and our bodies know when we give it something artificial, and then it reacts negatively, right?
Yeah.
And you don't want to be on those shots for the rest of your life. And it's frustrating for a lot of people that they say, well, you know, I'm diabetic or I've never found a diet that works and I just want to do this. Okay. It's always a person's choice, but I like to give them all of the information so that they can make an even more educated choice. So yeah, protein is the big thing. All of our cells require it to be healthy. So when you actually give your body a clean protein, which may be, you know, free range chicken, right? Good clean fish, grass fed cow meat. And then Shaklee has a variety of protein products, which are not genetically, and they actually taste good. It doesn't taste bad.
Yeah,
Because
you
people
get
go,
that
oh,
chalky
protein drink?
taste.
It tastes bad if it's good for me. So, and the other thing too, while I say that, is that Shaklee, they're really good to work with. Like if somebody used a whole bag of protein powder and they said, you know what, it's just not me. I just can't do this. I would like my money back. Okay. We want people to be happy. We don't want people to feel stuck with a product. So that's another thing that I respect about the company. Yeah, it's about making simple changes, and then there's programs that can help them make those changes, right? Because when you start giving your body good things, your body's going to crave those good things more. You know, I should say healthy things. Because good could mean something different to everyone. But yeah, the healthy things. Yeah.
On that exact same thing, I'm just going to even dive a little bit on the multivitamins, right? Like people know that it's important, but everybody is trying out every like new vitamin that comes on the shelf. You don't know if it's actually benefiting you. Again, I'm guilty of doing that as well. Like every single time I see something, I'm like, oh, probably I should try something like this. Again, I've not come into the factor of like the one that works for me.
Mhm.
So again, like I would want you to kind of guide us in a way, like what would be the right way to pick up something that fits your body? Because today we eat, as you said, like we pick out all the healthy things and we eat, but we are not eating all of the vitamins that are needed for our day to day, right? Like we end up skipping through things, whatever. Like, your day goes in and out, you're in a rush. So having said that, like vitamins are equally important. So if you could give us like a little bit of, understanding on like the cleaner products that are in Shaklee products and how to pick which vitamins work for you and why.
Well, I'm not a doctor. I don't treat or diagnose, but Shaklee does have a personal health assessment that one can complete. And it's a good baseline, and so there's multiple questions. It takes a person just a few minutes. They don't charge a fee for that. And then when they share their answers to me, which the answers are the products that are recommended for them, then I offer them a consult and we go over them. Yeah, so that kind of gives them a baseline of what is good for you. Now, there's supplements. And the reason I call them supplement because they supplement what we're not getting from our diet, right? So diet is still really important.
Yeah.
You want to make sure that you're getting good, clean food in your body, and then the supplements will help even more. Yeah, so it's called Meology, and because it's about me, not me, but like you, me.
Yeah.
And this was created by doctors at Shaklee and the scientists. They came together and they said, well, what could we do to help people so that they know that, they need this or this? And really, let's be honest. I mean, a multivitamin is good for 99% of the population. Like I have a family member who says, I can't take any multivitamin because it's just too much for their stomach. Right. But there's other ways to get those nutrients in their body. I know. And it's flexible too, that if somebody says, well, I have a hard time swallowing a tablet. Well, good. We've got some chewable options as well. But most importantly is the consistency, because you brought that up, Gigi. It's like, you got a busy day. Maybe your day's not going as well as you thought it was going to. Something pops up. That happens to all of us. But it's about making that just time of a couple minutes to get it in your body so that it will be beneficial, and do it daily, because otherwise, a person won't get the results. They won't feel a difference. And I'll be honest, when I first started using those 3 products, I'm like, am I going to do this the rest of my life? Because of how it made me feel. When I was consistent, I was just feeling so much better. I'm like, yeah, I want to feel this way for a long time.
And that's such a good point. I think people sometimes the results, the evidence of your work takes a little bit longer, and waiting that out. I actually have a client that I spoke with yesterday in a therapy session and continues to feel like something is wrong with her body. And she's tried diet, she's worked with dietitians, she has gone on very specific like regimens. And then she recently started taking a medication very similar to GLP-1, but it had a different name. I just cannot recall the name. And it had been a couple of months. Yeah, there's a few varieties of it, right?
Yeah,
And
there's a few of them.
she's been on it for a while now, a few months, and she was so frustrated because she was like, I'm not expecting to lose a pant size. However, I have not seen any results, and it's been like 4 or 5 months. And there was a part of me that noticed her impatience because it has taken her a long time to get to that level. And now in her mind, she has such a disconnect between her body, and when she looks at herself in the mirror, there's this disconnect, right? And I think sometimes we are looking for these results to occur so quickly because the mind handles things differently, right? We can travel various different directions in the mind, and yet the body needs time, and it needs consistency, it needs discipline and routine. And it needs, I think what you said, Mary Beth, like it needs, once you feed it the healthy things, and then it starts to get a taste of what it's like to be in that like energy space where it feels really good, and then you crave it more. And we talked about that, Gigi. We were talking about how if you started your day with a donut, I don't know where we had this conversation, but you start your day with sugar, and then all of a sudden you crave sugar throughout your day. And then you think that that's what you need because it's like a little boost of energy, right? You have sugar, your insulin skyrockets, and then next thing you know, it feels like you have energy. and then all of a sudden it comes crashing down, and then you get like the shakes. And I remember that long ago when I used to have like a bagel for breakfast, no protein, just a bagel, so plenty of carbs. So you were saying some really important things, Mary Beth. You were mentioning like protein is so essential. And I have also noticed as women, protein is not something that's usually like, it's almost like it's not communicated to us that we need to be up on our protein. And if we just consistently prioritize protein in every meal, and like you said, healthy, clean protein in every meal, we may not need to experience those crashes, the ebbs and flows, that it almost your insulin's maintained and it's consistent.
Right. Yep. Well, and the thing is, if I can mention something real quick, so it takes 120 days for the blood to completely recycle to create new cells. So that's 4 months. And so to expect for anyone to expect like quick results, and everybody's different. They may feel something, and that prompts them to continue. That's their motivation. But yeah, it takes 120 days for the blood to completely recycle.
I think I've learned, like, I didn't know it was like that long that it took our body to do so. But to Nishani's thing that she's talking about, like, how we all need to have like a good start to our day, it even depends on the culture that you come from, right? Like where I come from, like usually the day, literally most of our meals are very carb heavy. And like kind of taking that break and understanding and being like, no, that's not the way my day is going to start. I'm going to follow some parts of it, but not all through and through. I think this only happens when you know a little bit and then you want to try to utilize your knowledge that you have and see how best it works in your day to day. Because again, like my day to day is not going to look as the same as you two, right? Like we were bought in completely different spaces. Like our food habits are completely different. And if you like something, you do. But how can we enjoy keeping the things that we know now today? Like how can we still eat enough protein and not have a lot of fried food? As a woman, when you're aware, it's easier in the household, like as they say, right? Like it's a very like traditional thing that they used to say in India, like if a woman is educated, the entire family is. And I feel it even goes deeper down through your health as well. If the woman of the house knows what is the healthier food that you can pass down in your generations, like the entire family is healed somehow, because she's the one who's kind of managing everything behind the scenes. And like, I would like to get your input on all of these things. Like you've been doing this for, I don't know, at least I'm going to say 20 to 25 years of what I have understood of the timeline. What are the best changes that you have seen for yourself?
Starting my day with a protein smoothie really has been instrumental. And I'll be honest, the first protein powder that I was using was Shaklee. I didn't like it. I tried everything to make it taste better. But how well it made me feel got me over that hump, right? So I was mixing it with, fruit and rice and just all these things, almond milk and stuff, which was really good. But all these things, and it's like, and they still have that one, but they have one that's much better now. But it just helped me so much. And it was a soy protein powder. And literally, when I went through that fun time in a woman's life called menopause, I did not have any hot flashes.
That's right.
Because soy is a plant estrogen. And it's important to select one that's not genetically modified, because that's when it can be bad for us, because that's been literally fed into our society that, soy is not good for you. Well, if it's genetically modified, it isn't good for you, right? So then the question is, if you look at Asian women, over in China and Japan, they have no idea what menopause is, right? They don't have the hot flashes or sleepless nights. Why? Because they don't have genetically modified soy. If they eat tofu, they cook it up and they eat it within 24 hours, and then it's not, the compounds of the soybean have not been changed. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's fantastic. Yeah. In fact, I didn't even think about soy, because you're right. A lot of women normalize having hot flashes. And again, we're not at that space. But when I hear from older women who complain about, this is just normal, this is what you're going to experience, be prepared, right? Just get ready. And I think just hearing you say that is so refreshing, because we need to hear from individuals like you who, I'm sure it wasn't like a walk in the park. Menopause sounds like it's an entirely new cycle of death experience, that a rebirth, that, I don't mean to sidetrack our conversation to menopause, but as a woman, as a younger woman who is looking ahead and seeing that that is an inevitable reality, right? There's no hiding from menopause. That is
Mhm.
a reality that we
Yeah.
will all
Mhm.
have to face. And to hear your perspective and to hear that some of these basic practices that you put in soy, I didn't even capture that. And you're absolutely right. I've heard that same cliche, like soy is not good, stay away from
Yeah.
soy. But that's because of the genetic modifications that are occurring in the products that are typically found on the shelves that we see. So being intentional about finding the right product, doing the research on what does soy mean, and your reference to China and Japan, you're absolutely right. Like tofu, like the way that they produce things, the way that they're very intentional about how much time before they eat it. Like there's so much detail that you shared that's so valuable that I'm really like, wow, it gives me hope. It gives me hope that in my future, I can create systems so I'm not a victim of the transformation my body is going through, but rather I can embrace it as a way of life. Like this is a natural way the body is supposed to go through. We just need to know how to support it. And that's where science comes in. That's where knowledge and the brain comes in, right? And we are supposed to rely on our
Mhm.
community and the elders and to
Yes.
learn from them. But if a majority of the elders and the women are saying, like, this is not going to be fun, you're going to hate it, you're not going to have good sleep, and you're going to be in a mood, and you're going to have to spiral through these swings of changes, that's not giving me much hope. And so already you've shared something that makes me go, okay, I can navigate that. I can do that. Okay. So I kind of want to ask you a little bit more about your experience if you're open to it. Not that we will stay in that topic for too long, but I'm sure most of our audience will be women because we really talk about wellness, and both of us being women, we really want to specialize in supporting other women because we talk about how in our cultures women are suppressed. And the wisdom comes from the woman. We had a previous guest who I have introduced you to, Mary Beth. Rhonda was a guest of ours, and she is a huge advocate for the feminine, the woman, and just like Gigi
Yeah.
referenced, like when the woman of the household is insightful and knows what needs to happen, the entire health and the ecosystem of the household changes. I truly believe my father is as alive as he is because of my mother. I am not sure how long he would have made it if not for my mother
Yeah.
keeping him alive.
And it's acceptable. It's normal that the body goes through that,
Mm,
or I shouldn't say that. It doesn't have to be normal that the body goes through that because typically with menopause, you're not producing as many hormones, and that's why the symptoms women are
mm,
receiving is a result of that, right? And it's not even so much, and I just need to touch base on this. So it's
mm,
not even so much the estrogen, but the progesterone that our bodies are not producing. But when you give your body that little bit more estrogen in a clean format, such as from my experience, the Shaklee soy protein, it helped to produce more estrogen, and I didn't have any hot flashes. In fact, my family probably would have welcomed that because I'm usually cold. But that's because of something like you said is normally going on, right? We're not in childbearing years, things start to stop functioning in the way they did when we were in our 20s, 30s, 40s, and that's just the normal course of life. Does it have to be normal to go through those things, to not get a good night's sleep, to not or to have hot flashes? No. It doesn't have to be acceptable in our society. There are things you can do. And a little history on me, like on both my mom's and my dad's side of the family, the females had so many female problems.
mm.
And
Mhm.
I have not had any. Like the only body part I don't have are my tonsils. So I think that's pretty good.
That's really good. Yeah. I got touch on word everything, but yeah, like, happy to hear that.
But
Mm.
yeah, so it's let's not have it be acceptable. Let's be fighters and do good things for our bodies so that
Mm.
we can not just live longer but
Mm.
healthier.
That's-
Right? It is possible. My daughter just told me, she goes, "Oh, Mom, you're going to live to be your 120." I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know. I don't live that long."
Yeah.
My really intelligent
Maybe
daughter.
maybe that's a daughter's wish. But although I've been watching the Netflix series called Centenarians, they talk about individuals who've surpassed 100, who've made it to 100 years, and they follow, I think they're called blue states, where you go to specific blue zones. That's right. You visit and you
Blue
talk to these
zones.
individuals, and
Yeah.
there's an element with diet, exercise, movement, and then there's community and diet. I think in the Western world there is this like eat quick, eat fast, get your quick, processed quickly, right? Like I mean actually the word is processed foods, and everything is delivered so quickly that we tend to
Yeah.
miss out on the nutrients. We're not always asking the questions because the body it's creative enough where it can adapt to what we're feeding it for as long as it can do it. And when you're younger, it's a lot easier, right? You could technically live off of ramen noodles. I've certainly done it for like a whole week, at least once in my lifetime in college, because I couldn't afford anything. And like when you think about it, at some point, right? At some point, you want more greens. And I'm still very much reluctant to eat as many salads, to be perfectly honest. My partner has to trick me into eating veggies. And in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'll eat the vegetable first and then I will eat my meat and rice because that's how I used to do it when I was growing up. But sometimes I'll eat the vegetables or I'll eat a salad and I won't stop eating it. And I can tell it's because my body's like, whoa, this feels really good. I want more and more. And I think as we age, we experience this transformation, right? When we were younger, we might overlook those signals from the body. But as we get older, we're starting to notice like these are nutrients that you need. And I have noticed a lot of like when I was doing testing, the B12 deficiency was a big thing that was trending for a while. A lot of people were coming and telling me that they were deficient. Vitamin D, I found out I was very deficient in vitamin D for many years because I was living in Michigan. They didn't realize that I needed to take a supplement because I'm so used to having the sun in Sri Lanka that when I've been here in the winters, it didn't even occur to me that, I mean, technically we don't see the sun for many days. And this winter was brutal, in my opinion. But everybody in Michigan is like, this was a normal winter in Michigan. This was very normal. And it's driving me insane. I'm sure you might agree with this, Mary Beth. But like recognizing that the supplements, right? Like, and I have been very intentional about needing to take vitamin D. Sometimes you can get it from diet, but most of the time I have found that for some reason, unless you follow a really strict type of diet and you buy organic from local farmers and you monitor all of these details, which takes a lot of effort, I might add, you're not always getting access to the nutrients that you're talking about that we say that we need so that we can sustain a healthy body for a longer period of time. So I think that's another reason why why me and Gigi, I was telling Gigi, like, I think we need to talk to Mary Beth about Shaklee because it's not, I have not, until I met you, I had not heard of Shaklee before. And I'm slowly but surely learning about it. And I am also slowly entering into the world of the products because as you know, if there's already protein powder in the house, I'm not buying another protein powder until I finish that. That's just my rule. Now, I'm intentional about where I'm buying it, but now that you've talked about the protein powder, which I didn't even know about the soy element, I'm really curious to incorporate that into my diet to see what kind of changes am I noticing? What can I tell? And so, yeah, I think that's another element that I wanted to really get into, like these supplements. Where does Shaklee, like, do you know where they get their products from, or like where it's created, what the process looks like for where the nutrients or the, the elements come together from?
Well, Shaklee chooses the highest of ingredients. Like they'll go and they'll test the soil where the raw ingredient is grown. So they're very particular. It's not all in one area. Once they get the ingredients, they are made in the US. So that's, but yeah, they test the earth where the products are grown, and then they explain that before. So they want to make sure that it's organic. So with like 100,000 annual test, I think maybe I was selling that with someone else this morning because I had another meeting. But they tested the ground where the raw ingredient is grown, wherever that may be. Could be in the US, could be somewhere else around the world. They just want to make sure wherever they get it, that it's the cleanest ingredient. Okay. That's what they first look at. So they test the earth where it's grown, then they test the raw ingredient. Then when it gets to the facility where they're going to make the product, they test it again. They test it in the middle of manufacturing, and then they test the end product. So all said and done, annually, there's like 100,000 tests done on products. Yeah, it's pretty incredible. Like our one product called Vivix, for example, this has resveratrol in it. Have you ever heard of resveratrol? So have you heard people
Yes.
say, drink a glass of red wine a day, it's supposed to be good for you? Well,
Mhm.
I don't think that, but I mean,
Exactly.
who doesn't like a
Exactly.
nice glass of red wine? But it's the resveratrol, which comes from the grape. Well, the highest concentrated form of resveratrol is found in the muscadine grape, which they found a farmer in Georgia who was growing the muscadine grapes, and he was selling the guts of the grape to a winery and throwing away the skin. Well, the skin of the grape is where the most concentrated form of resveratrol was. So he was growing his grapes organically, and Shaklee approached him and said, "Hey, we want to buy the skins of your grapes," and looked at him like they were from Mars, right? And he's like, "I can't make money off of this." So it helped the farmer, and it helped to make our Vivix product, which slows down the aging process. It actually gets to the DNA level of our bodies.
Yeah.
But
Right.
helps to slow down that aging process. We're all going to age, right? But if we can slow it down a bit, not to the extent that you want to live to be 120, it's not me, but it does help you to, with inflammation and all of those things, right? The wear and
Yeah.
tear in our bodies. But yeah, just to kind of give you a little background.
Yeah, I know I'm taking a little bit like longer pause in between is like digesting all of the information that you're getting, which is so helpful. Like I literally have a book in front of me and I have some notes and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go back and refer to all of them. Like when I sit by myself, yeah, like I'm honestly I'm gonna say like thank you so much because somebody who knows you as well, like I met you some time ago, but like having these kind of conversations is something that's like very like it brings the best out of you. Like I am going to look at food in a different perspective, right? Starting from today, I am going to be like, what works for me and what doesn't. Though we have had these multiple conversations over and over with different kind of people, but I don't think they have explained it the way you have. So I'm going to first say thank you for like changing that perspective to look at the regular things that we did.
Nice. Well, you know what? And don't overwhelm yourself. So what I suggest to people is 1 to 2 positive health style life changes a month.
Right.
And just think about it. In a year's time, you've made 12 to 24, right? So, and
Yeah.
it's
Yes.
not overwhelming yourself. I mean, like we can make those bad habits so easily, right? Darn it. Why can't the good ones be better? It's easy. But
Yeah.
yeah, just start out slowly. And before you know it, it's like, oh,
Hmm.
wow, I've been doing that for a month and I'm
Yeah.
feeling better, right? So, yeah.
I'm just going to bring out one topic which I think everybody somehow is associating with is stress. Um, we cannot escape it. Do you think eating clean, taking all the right kind of supplements, everything is going to help us balance ourselves out? Like, I would love to hear your take and how it has been for the last 20 years in your life, because I'm sure like stress doesn't escape anybody. It's going to stay, it's going to be there. All we can do is do it right to manage it well.
I love that you brought this up. You're right. Stress is around us. We can't do anything about it. We can control how we respond to it, right? So what does that mean? Well, it means like when you've had a bad day, and not you, but I mean just people in general, like it's, gosh, this day just hasn't gone right. I've had this, and this going on. What do they grab for? Sugar, alcohol, all the things that are bad for us. So what happens then, doing that fuels the stress in our body. It depletes the production of essential vitamins that help us with our health, physically and mentally, right? Because the body has to work harder to process all of that instead of if you had an apple or a yogurt or, some kind of protein to help offset the effects of stress, right? Because then for me, like when that used to happen, and it can at times right now, but I'm much more conscientious of it. I'll have a piece of fruit or I'll have a yogurt or whatnot instead of going to the other things because I want my body to feel better. Right. And then I don't have that guilt like, oh my gosh, why did I have that glass of wine or why did I have that piece of candy or whatever when I was stressed? I know it's not going to help me. It's going to make it worse. So that's one way of looking at it's been a stressful day, but I need something to give back to my body because all that stress has really harmed it. Right. And it's all one entity, so it's going to harm it physically and mentally. Does that make sense?
Definitely. Yeah, it does. And you're talking to somebody who is like a stress eater. It's my comfort. Yeah, I've spoken about it enough, I think, with a lot of people. Like, the only thing that comforts me is food. But I am learning how to eat right. I was somebody who was more of like a takeout person. I've moved to US 2 years ago. Prior to that, I was in Dubai. And again, like, getting delivery services, getting food delivered is the most easiest, right? Not paying a lot of premium costs on it, everything. It's very easy. I think one small change personally for me was just starting to cook at home again. Whatever it is, we make everything, let it be Indian or anything fancy that we want to eat, or may it be street food. Like, me and my husband, we really love Indian street food. Yesterday we had like a street food version at home, but we made everything at home. All of the ingredients was something that we looked into. So it's not like we're not enjoying it, but it's like the way we kind of deal with it is in our way now. And as you mentioned, like, you have to give what your body needs, but like, make sure like where it is coming from. And I keep telling people, like, since I've come here, internally I'm feeling great. And today I know why, because I've been eating a lot of clean food and I've been eating a lot of home cooked meals. I'm going to say, like, that is my unlock, I'm going to say here, like, which I've learned today right now on the podcast. Like, I've been telling this to Nishani. I'm like, oh, I feel really great. Like, I've been doing this, I've been doing that. I plan all my meals. I'm like, I write everything down. I'll go get groceries. That is investment in yourself. And I keep telling this, I wish I knew this a few years ago. Like, I would have been on a better space. It's never too late.
Well, and same with me. Like, I do like making things at home, but some of the things I was using was not the healthiest. Like, when instead of really just taking the time to make a homemade gravy, right? I was using cream of chicken or cream of mushroom soup and just adding some water to it. Well, now I make gravy from scratch. And it takes a little bit longer, sure, but oh my gosh, it just tastes so much better. And it really just flavors up the food even more. But yeah, I get it. Something like that, right? Just making your meals at home for the most part. I mean, people want to go out and eat. That's a treat, right? So yeah.
Yeah. And my small takeaway is like, eating out is good, but then like what we like now, like, I think our taste buds also evolve with age. I'm going to say a little bit. I think my taste buds have gotten a little fancier. They crave good food. You cannot afford it every single day. You have to. I mean, it is what it is. I want good food if I go out. I'm not going to eat. I'm going to not spend my dollars and eat some crap and come back home. I would have made better things at home. And that's when I get my mom's dialogue. My mom would always say, if we go out and eat, I could have easily made this at home. And then at that point, I used to not like it. I've become that.
It's amazing how we transition from being the rebels, right? We go through our own process. And I think, in terms of like the purpose of us talking together and inviting Mary Beth just to kind of come full circle is that we're not encouraging everybody to stop what they're doing. We're not here to shame anybody with the things that you are currently doing. We're here to increase awareness because Mary Beth, you said like you're here to teach others about wellness. And I think and we didn't even get into this, but Mary Beth, you're somebody that works with individuals. Like, if somebody were to get interested in a Shaklee product, like, you're not just like, okay, go to this website, buy the product, and like, good luck. It sounds like you also get fully involved. And I mentioned to you that my partner was learning a little bit about his kidneys. And I want him to take ownership, but knowing me and the person that I am, I'm a little bit more like, okay, I'm going to do research for you. And having spoken with Mary Beth, I started asking Mary Beth for like, hey, is there a supplement that you would recommend? Because again, I believe that going to the root of the problem and trying to resolve what does the kidney require? Well, how can we support the kidney so that you're not just taking a medication? Because I've seen people who are on dialysis and it is an exhaustive process to ever have to go through that. And I always feel a lot of sympathy for individuals who have gotten to that point where they have no other option. Their kidneys, once it's gone, right? And we have our organs will do their best to keep going until it cannot. And so the purpose here, what Mary Beth is also saying is wellness starts with a small step. Like, if you're trying to lose weight, maybe it's 2 pounds, not 50 in 1 month. Maybe you're taking smaller bite-sizable steps, and then over a course of time you then discover that true change has occurred, and it's not always noticeable to you until someone else sometimes points it out. Someone else will be like, your skin and your hair, like my nails was something that I discovered because I started taking methylated B supplements, and I didn't realize what it was doing until someone pointed out, like, oh, Nishani, your nails are getting longer and they look really healthy. What's your secret? And I usually would have very brittle nails. It would crack and break, and I could never maintain a long nail. And unless I had like dip powder or gel nails or something. And this small change over the course of like half a year, I basically took the supplement for over 6 months, just being consistent with it. And then I discovered, oh, these are the effects of that supplement. My body is now supported in a way that I do not have to use extraordinary methods to maintain something as simple as a healthy nail bed and the nail growth and the look of the nail. And so I know we're here almost at the hour, and we were thinking that we might be able to end this episode early, but here we are having so many wonderful conversations. I'm so grateful that you are able to join us today. And especially, like, I'm really sticking with the 120 days of the recycling of blood, about the grape. That's a really cool fun fact that I didn't even know about. I'm going to look into that product because I believe in a long-term plan for aging. Instead of like getting to it when I'm 50, I want to start now and think like, what can I do to support the evolution that my body is going through, these changes that my body is going through, right? Midlife. And I'm just so fascinated by the conversations and just hearing about your experience with menopause and how you are normalizing and saying like, actually, no, I didn't have hot flashes, which is really funny when you said like, you're usually a very cold person. So maybe a hot flash might have been something that you celebrate. Yep. Bring that back. uh, I was like, what an odd but brilliant perspective. We can, having met you, having learned about your life and how you carry yourself with your family, and I know you're a new grandma, and there's another baby coming in the next couple of weeks or months, I think, from our conversation.
In May.
In May, that's right. Yeah, so this is something, because you've discovered this for yourself and you've been implementing these changes in your life, that genetically has probably helped your daughter, your son, and now it's helping their children. And this is a cycle, right? You basically changed a cycle, especially from what you said, between your mom and from your side. Like, the health of your ancestors may not have been the greatest, that wasn't something that they could like really be prideful of. And here you are, you've changed that cycle, and it's through certain practices that you've placed in your life, and now that continues on to the other generations. And this is where we're saying, like, it might not even be you that experiences the full gravity of the changes that you're making. Maybe it is the next generation. If you think it's too late for you, because sometimes I'll hear women say that, like, they're like, it's too late for me, I'm too old now, I'm done, my body's done. My mom, case in point, will say that all the time. And I try to remind her, because meeting Mary Beth, I'm like, Mom, that's that person that I connected with, because I've talked to my mom about you, Mary Beth, and I've told her, I'm like, she has a healthy body. She goes hunting. She still goes hunting. And my mom's like, what? What do you mean she goes hunting? Like, I'm like, yes, this is a person of similar age. At least I'm assuming they're a similar age, but again, similar age. And somehow my mom has embraced this, I'm too old and my body's done. And I meet individuals in my life who are like, we're just getting started. I'm just getting warmed up, and I'm going to keep doing the things that I'm doing, and I'm going to keep sharing that wisdom. And so I'm challenging my mom to think about that, using the people that I meet as an example, and I really, really think that's incredible what you're doing. Whoever's listening, I want to encourage everybody to take note of, like, once again, we're not asking you to stop what you're doing, get rid of everything in the household and live in fear of what you're eating and what you're using, but take small steps towards a healthier life. whatever that means to you. And if you don't know, well, guess what? We actually have an expert who can guide you on that. And she's not a doctor. Again, she's not going to heal every single thing that you have. We're not making any claims like that. But this is about a community of individuals who are walking the walk so that they can showcase what it's like for you to navigate those stormy waters and get to the other side without feeling like you're all alone and that you have nobody around you. So yeah, I'm not sure if Gigi, if there's anything you wanted to add to that before we wrap it.
First, I'm going to say thank you so much for being that. Another thing, we've not gotten into the hunting thing. So I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but would you be willing to do another session with us where we only talk about that? Because I want to know more about hunting. I have not met a lot of people.
I'd be honored to. Yeah. Thank you so much, ladies. I've really enjoyed this, getting to know you, Gigi, better. And it's always a pleasure, seeing you, Nishani, too. So, yeah, thank you so much. And I would love to be on again and talk about hunting. That would be fun.
Yeah, I think that you have a brilliant idea, Gigi. That absolutely. And hunt again, just as a woman, like hearing about you being a hunter, like my dad was shocked. I told him about you. Again, I talked to my parents, and my dad was like, "What do you mean it's a woman going hunting?" And she's like, "Around your mom's age." I'm like, "Yep, that's culture here. That's just something that she enjoys doing, and she doesn't do it alone. Like she does it with other individuals, as far as I know. Or maybe she could do it alone." And I was like, my dad had so many I could see the gears turning in his head. Like, what does that mean? Like bear hunting, And I told my dad, I'm like, in the Midwest, that is such a common thing. Some individuals, I have actually met somebody who only eats the food that they have hunted, the meat that they hunt. The only meat that they eat is from what they've hunted because they like to stick to those practices that makes them feel like they're more alive. And I'm like, that's wonderful. I'm not sure if I'm ready for that kind of commitment. I still like to go to the fridge and Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. Like I still appreciate being able to detect what to get and not have to do all the work. But we will absolutely get back to a conversation. So thank you for being open to that. And if you've made it this far, thank you for hanging out with us. We hope it made you feel a little more seen, because this is, if I'm being honest, we're not promising perfection.
Stay real, stay honest.